Hello, welcome to North Penn Television. I'm your chef Cynthia Wood, and this is Meals You Can Make. We're getting ready for Thanksgiving. It's right around the corner. So today we're going to be doing a couple of different kinds of dishes that you can add maybe to your holiday repertoire. The thing with Thanksgiving is a lot of people have traditional dishes that they like to serve, but it's hard to get everything into the oven along with the turkey. It gets to be a headache, it gets to be a hassle, you get frazzled. I may look a little frazzled today because we're going to try to do quite a few dishes for you, and we have started already, but we'll catch you up as we go along. We're going to do 2 desserts, and I'm going to show you a little trick that you can do for garnishing these desserts, and we'll do that a little bit later. We have already started with something that's called a cranberry dressing. That's what you need the fresh cranberries for, and the apples, if you saw the list of ingredients. We have it in the oven. I'll pull it out and show it to you in a little bit. It's really very delicious. It can be served as a side dish or served as a dessert. If you have any leftovers, it's great. It's like chewing on an oatmeal raisin cookie, but no raisins, cranberries instead. So we have a pumpkin fool that we're doing, and a fool is an English dish. It's a dessert that's made with pureed fruit that's usually strained, but since we're using canned pumpkin, it's already been cooked and strained for us, and it's going to be served in parfait glasses. Then we're going to do a cranberry tart, and we're using canned whole berry cranberry sauce for that. What else are we doing today? Oh, we're going to do a side dish that you can do right on top of the stove with broccoli, Canadian bacon, red onion, and garlic. That's going to be really fast because you can steam your broccoli off and cook everything in a saute pan, throw your broccoli in. And then, as a treat, we've done a special little potato dish, and this is really nifty because you can do it 2 to 24 hours ahead of time. It needs to be chilled for at least 2 hours. If you make it the day before, you can wait until you've pulled your turkey out to carve it and then pop it in. It takes 10 minutes in a 500-degree oven or about 7 minutes under the broiler. So it really is very simple, and it leaves some of your stove space open, and it's not a casserole that has to try to get squeezed into the oven with that turkey. So I think what we'll do is we'll start with our pumpkin. So we have our canned pumpkin, and we are going to mix this in our, we're going to use about half of this. I'm not going to make a full recipe. This is a 29-ounce can, so we're using about 15 ounces. And solid packed pumpkin and pumpkin pie filling are a little different. Pumpkin pie filling is already seasoned and sugared, so it's up to you. If you want it to be a lot sweeter, you can use that. This will work out just fine. Now we're going to put some cinnamon in, probably about a half a teaspoon. And I'm just going to, well, I'll just shake that in there instead of dumping it in my hand and making my hand dirty. And we're going to use some nice nutmeg. And there are different types of nutmegs. Indian is the best. That's affordable anyway. So we're going to use that. And that's about half the amount of cinnamon, so about 1/4 of a teaspoon. So we dump that in. Now we're just going to mix this together. And this will season our pumpkin. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make an actual whipped cream. We're not using Cool Whip. We're going to make it from scratch. So this is kind of mixed up. We're going to take a cup of heavy cream, and we're going to put that right into our bowl. And then we're going to take about 2 tablespoons of confectioner's sugar, 10x sugar, confectioner's sugar. We're going to dump that in, and about a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, so half a lid full. And we're going to put that in. Then we are going to turn our mixer on, so we're going to make a little noise, and you want to beat this until you get stiff peaks. So it takes a couple of minutes, not too awfully long. And the colder your bowl and beaters are, along with the temperature of your cream, the faster it works. Maybe a If I turn this way, you can see it a little better. Then what we're going to do, once we get some starch to this, is we're going to mix it in with the pumpkin for a marbled effect. It's starting to thicken. And this is also something that you can do the day before. I wouldn't suggest doing it more than one day before, because it would have a tendency to bleed the colors, the pumpkin, too much into the whipped cream. So it's starting to, there we go. Now I'll use my spoon and show you how solid that is. So we are going to put this, let me grab my parfait dishes, and we are going to mix this in. And what I'm going to do is use the whipped cream bowl and put my pumpkin into there. And depending on the size of your glass or dish that you're serving it in, you can make this a lot, like use the entire recipe, use the whole can of pumpkin. Make a lot more, a bigger volume. Let me scrape out my pumpkin. And once whipped cream is whipped, you don't have to worry about treating it as delicately as you would have to a meringue, which is whipped egg whites. That you have to be a little more gentle with. Whipped cream, as long as you get it into the refrigerator pretty quickly, you're pretty safe. So we're done with that. And it's starting to, I'm just stirring it so that it's kind of marbleized looking. And then we're going to spoon this down into our parfait glasses. You might want to shake it down a little bit so you can fill the air holes. And then we're just going to top this with some semi-sweet chocolate. And you could use the squares that you can buy for baking, and you would use a grater and grate them. I'm going to use chocolate chips just because that's what we had on hand, and just chop them and garnish them on the top. You really could do anything on the top if you wanted, but chocolate will give you a nice little relief from the sweetness of the fruit and the cream. Oops, am I dripping? Yep, a little bit. And this is the kind of thing that when the family goes out to the Thanksgiving Day football game, you can be doing this at home and enjoying your coffee or hot chocolate, because it's easy. It's really an easy dessert. And then, move that out of the way. We'll take a couple of our chips, and I am just going to do this. The flavor of white chocolate might be nice with the pumpkin, but you wouldn't see it as well, and the idea is to give it a little bit of a pizzazz. So we're going to use the dark chocolate. And if you really felt industrious, you could use the confectionery chocolate, melt it down on a cookie sheet, and then use a potato peeler and scrape and make nice long chocolate curls. But we're going to be doing a lot of stuff today, so we're taking the easy way out and just chopping up some chips. There we go. I'll clean up that. So there is our pumpkin fool. And like I said, if you wanted to do these the night before, I know people probably aren't wild about being in the kitchen the day before Thanksgiving since they feel as if they're going to be in all day Thanksgiving Day. But this kind of stuff, you saw how quickly that went. I mean, you could do that and be in and out of the kitchen. So that's our one dessert. So we'll put those aside for now. Whoop, lost a chip. Now our second dessert, we are going to take some whole berry cranberry, And we are also going to put some nutmeg and some cinnamon in to our cranberries, about the same amount that we used for our fool. Cinnamon, some nutmeg, and we're going to stir this up. And we're also going to whip a little whipped cream, so we're going to be noisy again in a minute. I apologize. Ooh, boy, does that smell good. Now, the idea with this is we are going to use the little tartlets that those little Keebler elves were so nice to make for us. And we are going to lay this in the bottom. It's a little much in that one. And then we had a box of instant, and it has to be the instant. Well, for speed anyway, it does. Vanilla pudding or French vanilla would be really nice. You mix that with a cup of milk and then let that sit, and it will set up for you. Then what we're going to do, after I get my wild cranberries out of the way, is take our pudding, which we have in this bowl, and we have our whipped cream. Let me grab another little bowl. And this is about a half a cup. And we're going to make a mousse type of a substance with this and the pudding. So we're going to whip this till soft peaks form, so it doesn't take quite as long. But it's still going to be loud. Here we go. And then we're going to stir this in with our pudding. And then top each cranberry layer with a layer of this. Now, cranberries are pretty traditional for Thanksgiving, but most people for dessert stick with apple pie and pumpkin pie, and I'm not really a big pie fan, so that's why I like to do stuff like this. All right, we're getting to the soft peak stage already. It doesn't take quite as long. Almost. And this is the kind of thing where if you need it soft peak, you don't want to have it in a mixer with a stand and walk away from it, because it'll get to the stiff peaks before you know it. Actually, I think we're just about there. Let me check this with, well, maybe one little shot more. There we go. And the way you can tell is if you lift your beater up, I'm not going to lift it all the way up or I'll be slinging whipped cream around the room. But if you start to pick it up out of your liquid, it will start to make little rivulets down into the cream, and then you know that's when it's starting to set up. And if it gets too much farther than that, it's too far gone. I mean, it's still edible. It's really good on cake or something, but now I'm going to stir up my pudding a little bit and fold this in. See how it's a lot more creamy than the Stiff Peaks cream where it was. There we go. It's nice to do your desserts the day before too, because then you cut down on your dishes the day of. Okay. So this is going to make this a lot lighter than just the plain pudding would be, if you can see that. So you want to mix it well, but you don't want to beat the daylights out of it. Now we're going to just spoon that on. And you want to cover your cranberries. I should be using a bigger spoon maybe. There we go. And then we're going to top this with a little bit more of the whole berry cranberry. And then I'm going to show you a little trick for the garnish. And the garnish that we're going to be doing for this tart you can actually do to any kind of fruit, and it's beautiful for the holidays. You can use it as a table centerpiece. It's really a nifty little thing. Now this is only, we made half the recipe really for this. The package of shells come 6 to a package. So if you have more than 6 people coming and you want everybody to have a little tartlet, you'll have to get more. You could put it into one big pie shell, but it's going to be kind of messy serving it. So, and this is nice too. When we plate it up, you'll see how pretty it's going to look. Do I have all my spots covered? Just about. Okay. And we're not going to put a whole lot of the cranberries on. We're just going to put a little dab on the top of each one for color. Oop. Okay. So there is our cranberry mousse tartlets. And we also have our pumpkin fools. So we're going to take a really quick break. I'm going to stick these in the fridge, and when we come back, we're going to do our 2 vegetable side dishes. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
What if you had to choose between a flower and an elephant? What would you choose? What if you had to decide between a 100-year-old tree and a 1,000,000-year-old beach? Could you choose between drinking clean water or breathing clean air? Now you can choose all these things. EarthShare, the world's leading environmental groups working together. It's one choice we can all live with.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Cynthia Wood, and this is Meals You Can Make, and we're working on our Thanksgiving side dishes today. If you're just joining us, we have a couple of things going on already. We did 2 desserts. We have something in the oven that I'm going to show you, but right now our water is boiling hard for our broccoli. So I'm going to try to do this without hurting anybody. I'm going to steam my broccoli off, and then I have a saute pan going with about 2 tablespoons of butter in it. Into that, I am going to throw about 1/2 of a large red onion that I've chopped up, and some Canadian bacon that I've already chopped up. Canadian bacon has a little bit different flavor than regular bacon. And then I have 2 garlic cloves that I've minced. They're going in. And now I'm going to turn that heat up a little bit. Bottom right. And we're going to saute that, and then we're going to toss that with our broccoli when we're ready to serve it. Now, something that we're not actually going to be doing together, but that, oh, and I want to do this too. I've washed my lemon. This is the lemon zester. We talked about this before. You just pull this down. Do it onto my aluminum foil here. And you get pretty little bits. So we're going to throw some of this into our broccoli, and we're also going to use a little bit for our garnish, for our cranberry tarts that we've made. Now, we're just about there. For our potato dish that we had talked about earlier, you will need some sweet potatoes and some regular potatoes. You can use red skins. What you want to do is, and you may do this 2 to 24 hours ahead of time, you take your sweet potatoes and your regular potatoes, you peel them and boil them in a little bit of salted water. When you can stick a fork straight through or a knife straight through and they break apart, they're ready to be pulled out. Drain the water and mash them like you would regular mashed potatoes. Then into your sweet potatoes, you'll add 1 tablespoon of butter, and you may add some orange zest, which is what we just did with the lemon. You would do the same thing. Chop that up, throw that in. If you don't want to add it, you don't have to. Then you take your regular mashed potatoes, you put a little bit of onion powder or onion salt with a tablespoon of butter, and you mash those separately. So you have a bowl of orange colored and a bowl of white colored. Then what you do is you take a cookie sheet, you're going to line it with aluminum foil, spray it with a non-stick coating spray. Then you put your little nests of the sweet potato on the bottom, put a little indentation in. If you have a pastry bag, you put your mashed potatoes, the white ones, into the pastry bag and pipe them right in. If you don't have a pastry bag, you can use a spoon and just pile them nicely onto the sweet potatoes. The nicest thing about this dish is that you can do it the day before, get it out of the way. When you bring your turkey out to carve it, you know you have to let it sit for a couple of minutes. And if you have any questions, Butterball has a hotline. You can call them up. But when you're carving that, pop these in. You'll put them under the broiler for 7 minutes or turn the temperature on the oven up to 500 and bake them for about 10 to 12 minutes. So it's really nice. It's a single serving for each person. Like I said, I used about 2 really large sweet potatoes, or yams work, and 3 or 4 smaller white potatoes. And I have enough for 8 adults. I don't think anybody needs more than 1. If you want more than 1, you could have more, but I don't know that you'd need it. Now we're going to wait until we're ready to put this stuff together. I'm going to top it with a little bit of melted butter, which I have right there. First I'm going to stir my onions and Canadian bacon a little bit. Our broccoli smells like it's coming along. And now I want to tell you about the second dish that we started without you today. Let me turn this one off. And I'm going to pull it out of the oven so that I can show it to you. Now this is a really nice dish too that you can use as either a side dish with your dinner, or you can use it as a dessert and top it with vanilla ice cream. It's really good. It's called a cranberry dressing, but it's not your traditional stuffing. It has 3 apples that are chopped, cored and chopped and put in, 2 cups of cranberries, 1.5 cups of white sugar, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and then you take 1/3 cup of flour, 1.5 cups of Quaker oats. Instant in the little packages is not what you want. You want quick cooking Quaker oats that come in the big round cylindrical tub. You mix melted butter, 1/2 cup, with your 1/3 cup of flour and your oats and make that crumbly. Mix your sugars and your fruits all together, throw them in the bottom, and top them with that crumbly mixture of oats. And this is what you come out with. Now this takes an hour. If you want to do this ahead of time or the day before, you could always just pop it in, cut it into pieces, wrap it in aluminum foil, pop it into the oven about, a half an hour before the turkey's done, and it'll warm it through. If you decide that you aren't going to eat it with your dinner and you'll save it for later, it's good cold too. It's like eating an oatmeal cookie. So I really like that. But that's our cranberry dressing. So we'll leave that there for you. And our bacon's sizzling away over here. Now I'm going to pour my melted butter, just a drizzle, over each of our potatoes. And we're going to pop this into the oven really quick. And I think I'll put it on the broiler, as long as I have people watching me, so that in case it starts to go, I don't have eyes in the back of my head. We'll put it here for now and turn the broiler on. And then I want to show you really quickly this really neat garnish. I'll turn this down, turn this off. Get rid of that so we can see each other without the steam. Now, what I have here are 2 little dishes. so that I can show you how to separate an egg in case you don't know. And I do it the messy way. I'm going to drop my egg white into there and use my fingers because that's the best way you can let the white run through, and then you have your yolk. What we're going to do is take some pretty cranberries, and I'm just going to dip them in there, for lack of a better way to do it, and moisten them. If you wanted to, you could use a little paintbrush, but it's easier just to do it this way. And you can do this, I was talking about it before the break, with grapes, you can do it with pears, you can do it with any kind of fruit. It takes a lot of egg whites if you're using large fruit. And then what we're going to do is we have our super fine sugar, super fine. You can get this at any grocery store, just about any grocery store. And then what we do is pull them out of the egg whites. Grapes look really pretty done this way too. And then you just coat it with this super fine sugar. You know what else is pretty too that you can do is roses, and for cakes and stuff, and you use a paintbrush for that, a small paintbrush, and it doesn't have to be a good one, it just needs to be a fine bristled one. But if you do a big piece of fruit, you might want to put it on a cookie rack so that it drains and it can dry all over. So we're going to use those for our tarts, and I'm going to peek on the potatoes. They're cooking. Good. Okay, now we'll move this out of the way real quick. Move our cranberries back. We're going to get our broccoli together. So I'm just going to pull that over here and use my other spoon. And if you wanted to make this a little bit more of a sauce on here, you could add 1/4 cup of wine or a little bit more butter, depending on whichever one you wanted to do. And we're going to mix that up. So I think we'll take a really quick break. We're going to plate things up for you, and when we come back, we'll review. Okay, we'll be right back.
They've given us a label, Generation X, Generation Nothing. Why not wear a label that does mean something?
Hi, and welcome back. Here you have our Thanksgiving desserts and side dishes. We have a pumpkin fool, which is an English dish made with pumpkin and homemade whipped cream, garnished with semi-sweet chocolate. We have our cranberry mousse tartlets, a graham cracker shell with cranberries and then vanilla pudding mousse, and topped with our sugared cranberries and lemon zest. Here we have our broccoli side dish done with red onion, garlic, a little bit of lemon, and Canadian bacon. And aren't our potatoes lovely? Our little sweet potato nests topped with red skin mashed potatoes. And here we have our cranberry dressing done with cranberries and apples and brown sugar and oatmeal, quick cook oatmeal. And these, as you can see, are part of a meal that you can make. Join us next time when we do some Thanksgiving leftover dishes. Now for North Penn Television, I'm Cynthia Wood. We'll see you next time.